everybody, Jason here from Ghostbusters News, and allow me just for a second to give you a bit of a history lesson, as it has been 1 year since Ghostbusters Afterlife was released in theaters. Essentially, Ghostbusters 3, this was the movie we all thought that we would never see. And as part of the marketing hype behind the film, there were so many products and tie-ins that were released. And one of which that you may have missed was Ghostbusters Afterlife ScARe. It was an AR, augmented reality, mobile video game. And it not only starred pretty much all the ghosts that are seen in Afterlife, but the actual cast as well. And one aspect of the game that got a lot of fans talking when the trailer was first released back in November of last year was the music that can be heard, as it's not the Ray Parker Jr. classic Ghostbusters, it's this.
I'm in the twilight zone, I always feel like somebody's watching me. And I have no privacy. I always feel like somebody's watching me. Tell me, is it just a dream?
A new style take on Rockwell's classic Somebody's Watching Me. And I'll admit, after watching that trailer for the very first time, I was more excited about the song than the game. And this unique take on Somebody's Watching Me, it was performed by the Flux Capacitors. Great Scott. And this is not the first time I've actually talked about them, as they were part of 2019's Ghostbusters FanFest. For anyone who may have watched our recap from that show, you likely recall me saying that they were one of the true highlights. And thanks to the powers of the internet, recently I got into contact with the Flux Capacitors, and let me tell you, our first conversation, we talked everything 1980s. And of course, this included things like Ghostbusters, Back to the Future. But also, we sat down for an interview, and that is what we're going to feature today, and we talked about Ghostbusters FanFest, as well as their inclusion within Ghostbusters Afterlife ScARe. Like seriously, how did these Ghostbusters fanboys wind up performing a theme song to a Ghostbusters video game? I mean, that's got to be like a dream come true, right? Right? So join me for today's very special feature as I sit down with Ryan Silverberg and Brian Lanzarato of the Flux Capacitors. All right, so today I am joined by Ryan and Brian of the Flux Capacitors. And gentlemen, I just want to say thank you so much for joining me here today on Ghostbusters News.
All right, thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us, man. Yeah, really cool of you. Thanks.
Now, I'm probably not alone here. I'm sure the general audience that's watching, that's listening to this right here, they're kind of curious exactly why the Flux Capacitors. I mean, obviously it's a nod to Back to the Future, yeah. But can you give me a little bit of insight, backstory on the band?
About 10 years ago, we got together, there was 5 of us, and we just had this idea about being a really cool 80s party band. That was it. That's all we wanted. Like that, it was just for fun, you know. We knew it was going to have its stigma, the stigma of being a cover band. We knew all this stuff, but it was just supposed to be a fun thing. So one day we were on the phone and we're trying to talk about ways to relate to the audience more. You know, rather than just getting up on stage and playing music from the 80s or the 90s or whatever, let's dress as characters from an iconic movie from that era. And we tossed up maybe dressing as each character from The Breakfast Club. You know, we tossed around being Ghostbusters, which I don't know how we would have played, you know, in a proton pack and everything. But we did toss that around, and it's a good thing we didn't, because I don't, you know, Sony might not have liked it that much. But anyway, so we settled on Back to the Future as our theme. And at the time, you know, we went through all the male characters, and we're like, well, we've got Marty, we've got Doc, we've got Biff, we've got George McFly. But there was no more like dudes in the movie that we could use. So our drummer at the time, he put on a dress and he was Lorraine. So that's how it all started. And then just quickly, we sort of got sucked into the Back to the Future community, as well as the Ghostbusters community. We met a lot of Ghostbusters groups at about the time we started this too.
Now, we're going to dive into your guys' connection with the Ghostbusters franchise here in a second, but first, I'm a little curious because there's quite a bit of overlap when it comes to Ghostbusters fans, Back to the Future fans. How has the Back to the Future fandom accepted the Flux Capacitors, and more importantly, those behind the license, those that actually own the license?
Well, from the moment we started, it very receptive. None of us thought that that the community, the cast, the crew, the studio, for that matter, none of us thought that was going to be that we would be welcomed with such open arms. In fact, one of our first shows was at Universal Studios in like a piano bar, which is right at Universal Studios City Walk. And I thought, I don't know about the other guys, but I thought like we're going to start playing and the lawyer squad is going to descend into there and be like, no, guys. But, pretty quickly it began developing. Word got out. It almost seemed to us that there was that what we had put together was like missing, like a missing link or something, because there were so many Back to the Future events. The 30th anniversary was just coming up. We didn't know that when it started, and so we just began being pulled in everywhere, and to this day, it's a huge thing. We have the DeLorean time machine at our shows, and cast members from the film come, and we play a lot of music from Back to the Future. We got stage props from the movie.
It's been great. When we started this. We didn't even realize there was this whole community out there with Back to the Future and Ghostbusters. Like, I didn't know anything about it. And probably within our second show, people were showing up dressed as Marty McFly. And actually, Don Fullylove, who plays Mayor Goldie Wilson in Back to the Future, he showed up and he started kind of live videoing it to his people. Yeah. And this all this just kind of blew us away. We weren't ready for any of that, and it wasn't long before we met this group of Ghostbusters. They would come to the shows, and they'd be in the full gear with the proton packs and everything, and I got to say, I didn't know there was anything like that out there. And then from there, usually the people that know Back to the Future, like you said, they know Ghostbusters, and they know everything about all the pop fandom stuff, and so the overlap is just everywhere. There's so much overlap. There's just no separation, I think. And
I don't see why there should be. Honestly, I love Back to the Future as much as I love Explorers, and the Goonies and Ghostbusters and any of those movies from that period. It all means something to me, because I lived through it, I think what when he said that when Goldie Wilson, Don, came to our show the first time and started streaming to his fans, he's like, he had the camera up and he's like, you guys got to see what's going on behind me. And that really kicked us off. I think that was really like the first turning point. And that was super early. That was maybe like our second show our second live show that we ever played. Yeah. And then it spiraled from there. We ended up doing the 30th anniversary celebrations out here in LA, and that was like 5 days of that. And we got cast in the documentary Back in Time. That was on Netflix for 3 years. Now it's on Hulu and Amazon Prime. And it was such an honor for us. It was just never something we would have expected. But they had 3 musical aspects of Back to the Future in that film, and they had us, like the band we had just made 2 years earlier, Huey Lewis and Alan Silvestri. And that was, at the time, that was like the 3 parts of the music side of Back to the Future. We were keeping it alive, and they were the ones who originally did it. Now, of course, there's the actual musical. So that would be in there these days. And Bob Gale, the executive producer, did give us a little mention in the official program for the Back to the Future musical, which is pretty cool.
That's pretty insane. Like for me growing up, my big thing, obviously, it was Ghostbusters, and also other 80s properties. Like I love Back to the Future, Goonies, some of the movies you've already mentioned there. What has it been like for you both of you, when it comes to, rubbing shoulders with some of Hollywood's elite, Christopher Lloyd and Michael J. Fox. What has that experience been like?
It's always been surreal. We know some of these people by, they would recognize us walking down the street at this point. It's always been amazing, man. I mean, and you would know it too, like when people can break out of the fandom and sort of integrate in like a real, like a legitimate sense. You've got to understand how that feels too, being Ghostbusters news. It's like it's amazing when you can integrate with one of your favorite fandoms, like on such a deep level, and go beyond that typical fan status.
Well, I mean, for you guys too, like even outside of just the movie aspect, I mean, you guys have worked with some pretty dominant acts of the 1980s. I mean, just going through a quick list here, I mean, there's like Tiffany, Oingo Boingo, which is a personal favorite of mine, When in Rome, what else do we got there? Bow Wow Wow, Run DMC, like... Yeah. Any crazy stories about Run DMC or
Sure.
Oingo Boingo?
Oh, we got Run DMC stories, man.
I don't even know if I want to bring one of them up.
Yeah, it actually, strangely, Brian and I are essentially the same age, and in 1986 or 86, our first, the first, just coincidentally, the first cassette tape he and I both ever owned was "Raising Hell" by Run DMC. So, and we played the crap out of it. And 30 years later, we're up on stage performing with them, and they're running around and us as the backing band. It's amazing, man. It's just not stuff. I've said this often. It's not stuff you can just sit down and like decide to like write fiction about. It's like, I think I'm gonna write something insane today and come up with that, because that kind of stuff doesn't happen very, very much or very, very often. I think. I mean, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty unreal. I mean, you're up there with these guys, and when I was a kid, I was listening to their music, I was watching their movies, and then you're performing with them, and there's really no words that can really kind of I think express like kind of the way it feels. It's I mean, you can imagine it's really cool.
And it hasn't stopped. Like there's always some new fandom, not new, but some fandom that ends up coming our way, hearing about us through the grapevine or having seen us perform, or however they've heard about it. Like we seem to get involved in a lot of well-known stuff, and I love it, man. I love it. Like every day, it's like hard to believe. Because we're just regular guys who had an idea one day and decided to play some music, and it was up to the world. It was up to the fans to decide how far we were going to be able to take that.
And from where this has taken you, I mean, there's been some pretty notable places. I mean, I know you kind of mentioned that you were actually doing the Comic-Con cruise ship as well. One that I really want to kind of touch on here is Stan Lee's birthday bash that actually took place in his Hollywood Hills mansion.
It was at the house that was scanned to become Tony Stark's the Starkist mansion. Yeah,
really
trippy place, man. It's like got round wings, and it leads right up to this crazy drop off that looks over Hollywood. Yeah, man. We were in 2014. We became kind of the house band of Kamikaze. At the time, Los Angeles Comic-Con was called Stan Lee's Kamikaze. He was the namesake, and he would appear there and everything. So for years and years, every time Kamikaze would roll around, we would play the big, huge after party. And eventually, it turned out, like I think it was 2018, we were asked to play at his birthday bash at the Stark mansion, and he was there, and he gave a big speech on the stage that we own. We own our stage, and another one of those things that no other band, big, small, new, old, no other band is going to be able to say that they did that. That was the last. That was his final birthday. That was it. And we were there and we played for him and for his family and friends and about 3,000 other people. And everyone's in Marvel costumes and one of those surreal moments. Not the most surreal moment though with Stan in my life though. I had a really weird, funny moment once, and we were playing at San Diego Comic-Con, and our drummer at the time, we always wake up really early. Well, Brian does it too, but just that day, that our drummer and I happened to wake up really early, and we're starving, so we went down to this VIP breakfast buffet, and so we're sitting at the table, and I look over, and there's Stan Lee and Sam Jones and Lou Ferrigno, and they're sitting at a table having eggs and bacon and sausage and everything. And I'm just like looking at our drummer, and he's looking at me, and it's like, is this real? Like we got the Hulk, we got a Flash Gordon, and we got Stanley just sitting here having breakfast. And then, I walk over to get some food, and then Sam comes up and just starts shoveling eggs onto my plate. It's just one of those trippy things that happened.
So in 2019, Ghostbusters, they're celebrating their 35th anniversary. Columbia Pictures Ghost Corps, they decide that they're going to hold Ghostbusters Day celebrations on the Sony Studios lot.
Yeah.
Now, you guys were a part of it. You were one of the acts that you're performing there. How did that come about?
Wizard World reached out to us. All of the corporate clients that we've ever gotten, and that includes Google and YouTube and Microsoft and everybody, like it's who's who. They've all come to us, which is really cool. It's a really cool position to be in. So Wizard World reaches out to us and they say, we want you guys to play at Ghostbusters FanFest and on the Sony lot. And I'm like, where do we sign? I was like, are just us? They're like, no, Ray Parker Jr. is going to be there with his band. It's going to be playing, their music. And, I get on the phone with everybody and I'm like, another unbelievable thing just landed on our lap. We're going to play at the 35th anniversary of Ghostbusters at Sony. So that's how they came about, man. Who knows how the word gets around to everybody, but it does. I don't know how Wizard World found out about us, but they did. And so we were there.
And I mean, you guys totally rocked the place. I mean, I know it was outside and everything, but I just recall that one day, there was so much stuff going on. It was almost kind of chaotic where they kind of try to jam pack so much into just one day of, ghost busting fun. And me trying to cover it all, I don't think I really attended hardly anything because I just kept running from one side of the actual, lot to the other side, back and forth. And I didn't really get to experience too much.
I saw your recap. Thank you for the little excerpt you gave on us, by the way. That was cool.
You're welcome. But I was about to actually say, one of the true highlights of that for me, aside from seeing Ray Parker Jr. take the stage, was actually you guys take the stage. That was even one thing that I went, and I believe I was watching the video game presentation they were having on the old 2009 Ghostbusters game. Yeah. And I came back and I was there. Actually, my wife was there and I was like, oh, so where were you while I was here? And she was like, oh, I was just, listening to this awesome band. She grabbed me by the hand, took me over. And that was the first time I heard you guys. And it was amazing. You guys were rocking out like in just a crazy, crazy rendition of Saving the Day from what I recall.
That's right, man. Oh my God, that whole day, dude. Well, we started out at 10 o'clock in the morning when we were supposed to be there.
Yeah.
We get there, we unload all our stuff. We unload the PA. We're putting our speakers right next to to a Zool on the ground. There's a Zool there. There's a Vince, and we knew we were supposed to be on stage. Like our call time was 10. We're supposed to be on stage. So we get there and Ray's very large band is up on stage and, they're super cool, but they're doing sound check and we're standing around waiting. It's getting hotter and hotter. People are filing in. And eventually it just became clear that we probably weren't going to make it onto the stage. As we were supposed to go. So Wizard World grabs us and they're like, you guys set up over here, So we set up over there, and then what happened? The dancers like started like trying to dance like right through the setup.
Yep. Yeah, we were in this weird little corner in the bushes, basically. I think we were basically just.
Well, no. We ended up in the bushes. So basically, we brought everything out. We set it down. 3 hours later, they set us up in front of this sort of entranceway, and they're like, "Here, set up here." So we set up all our stuff. We're ready to go. And then they're like, wait a minute, we set you guys up in the wrong spot. The dancers are going to come on through. So they're like, you guys have to move over there. So they sent us over to this clearing, like in the bushes, essentially, which turned out to be really cool because we were the only ones in the entire place that had a tree like over our head. And we had, a lot of shade there. So that was cool.
Yeah. It seemed like we rocked it 10 times harder than we would have if we were actually on the stage.
I know. Yeah, seriously. It was great because we had something to prove. We're like, okay, well, we don't. Here we are. We're playing in the bushes. We better do this like really well. Like, and we're not going to. One thing that we concentrate on always when we play other people's music is that we want to give like the most rocking, real, like authentic feeling version of it as possible. And so we don't use backing tracks. We're not that kind of band. Like everything we play is played live.
We're a rock band. We're like a hard rock band that does other people's music, so it's gonna have that live, authentic, rocking feel, basically.
And not to mention, I mean, Saving the Day, and we did Cleaning Up the Town by the Busboys as well. Like we did that, and that was the music means something to us as Ghostbusters fans, and so there was no way we were gonna let anyone down. Like I walked over to Ray, and he was up on stage, and he looks down at me, and I'm like, hey man, nice to meet you. Just wanted to let you know we're not going to play Ghostbusters today. We always play Ghostbusters. We're not doing it today. That's your jam. And he was like, yeah, man, thank you. I said, we're going to do Saving the Day. We're going to do Cleaning Up the Town. We're going to do some other stuff from the 80s. And he was totally cool with it. Yeah, we've read some reviews. Some people are like, what are these guys always doing, popping up at like every single 80s nostalgia event that comes around. And we've read, good reviews and people who didn't understand what we were doing there. Normally we're in costume, so it makes a little more sense. But that day, like they definitely didn't want us in Back to the Future outfits. So we only ended up with like a half an hour to play.
And actually, I'm kind of curious, being that you actually mentioned not dressing up that day, and likely a good thing given that you were on the Sony Studios a lot. Was there any, do's and don'ts when it comes to the set list? Like, I don't know, like maybe not covering a certain song by Huey Lewis and the News?
I don't think so. I think we're not dumb. Like it's like, if we're playing a Ghostbusters event, we're not going to play Power of Love. I mean, so we change our sets based on what we're playing. Like if we do, like we did a thing for legit for Netflix for Stranger Things 3. And, we strangely, well, not strangely, I guess, no pun intended, but, Ghostbusters and Back to the Future are both integrated into Stranger Things. So we were able to play some Ghostbusters music. We were able to play some Back to the Future music, but we just played Star Wars Celebration in Anaheim, and we didn't, we're not going to play Back to the Future music. Instead, we did Laptinek, from Jabba's Palace, and we do that kind of stuff. I don't remember what was on our set that day necessarily.
The only thing I remember is we were just not going to play Ghostbusters because Ray Parker Jr. was there. That was really the only song I think we talked about that day.
But we wouldn't have played The Power of Love. I don't think so. That wouldn't have made any sense. Maybe Johnny Be Good, maybe, because that would have been cool. But we're not going to take a Ghostbusters event and turn it into like a Back to the Future fest.
Yeah, usually we're pretty aware when we make a set list, and we plan it out pretty well, I think.
Yeah, I think we started on, I think the first song we played was Cleaning Up the Town,
Yeah.
Second song was Saving the Day, and then we probably did Footloose and Don't You Forget About Me. So we did other 80s film themes, but not like fandom themes, you know what I'm saying? Overall, that was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. We had a lot of friends there who are, in Ghostbusters groups, and, of course met, some of the cast, and another one of those bucket list things that you can never put on your bucket list because you would never think that's something that you could end up at.
So that was 2019. The next year, obviously, the whole world pretty much ends for a little while. COVID-19 hits. How did that affect you guys?
We took a hit. I have to say we took a hit. We were all booked up throughout the next year or two, and a lot of that stuff just dissolved, and it got times got pretty scarce for a minute, and there wasn't a lot we could do about it, but we managed to keep our heads up and pull through, and just keep pounding away at it.
Entertainment took a hit. Live entertainment took a hit, and we of course tried our hand at, we never released like videos of us playing. Everyone's like, you got to release show videos and stuff. It's like, no, we're a live experience. So we're going to figure out other ways to survive. But it was a real bummer because we were supposed to play at the cast and crew party of Bill and Ted Face the Music. We were supposed to do that in 2020 at San Diego Comic-Con. And that's, and we were like, oh, we're going to play God Gave Rock and Roll to You. We're going to play In Time. We're going to play all these like iconic songs from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and love it. And it didn't end up happening. So that was a bummer. But yeah, we survived. Just like, I guess, not everyone survived. We lost some people, but we survived and the band survived. So it was rough, just like it was for everybody.
It was kind of crazy, given the time, and when you look at a film like, let's say, Ghostbusters Afterlife and the new Bill and Ted and everything, like, these were films that we were waiting on for years upon years upon years. Yeah. And for them to come out during that time, like, nobody could ever predict.
Oh, no.
Just the absurdity of kind of what followed.
Nobody would have been. It wasn't even in anyone's vocabulary. Like, we were going to, like, the apocalypse was going to descend and we were going to have to figure out a way to survive it. And then everything else was going to become like all the normal stuff that we'd consider normal was going to become like sideline stuff. And you're going to be more paying attention to like how you wash your vegetables when you get them from the grocery store. All that stuff. So anyway, we survived it. We lost out on some major stuff, but we got through it. So.
All right. So I just touched on it a second ago. Ghostbusters Afterlife got delayed a handful of times, eventually got released. Columbia Pictures Ghost Corps, the marketing machine, it got behind it. And we had new action figures. There was Stay Puft Marshmallow Man branded marshmallows on grocery store aisles, and tons of tie-ins, including an AR mobile game called Ghostbusters Afterlife ScARe that somehow you performed the backing track for, like really the theme song to the game.
That's right. How do I even do this? I guess all reversed here. I want to like point to the logo. We did. We're still, a little speechless about that whole experience.
How did it really come about? Because I'm kind of curious here, because I know, to get the Ray Parker Jr. song, the Ghostbusters theme, like they're going to be paying royalties and everything. It's not as easy. A lot of people just think, oh, it's Ghostbusters, they can use the theme. It's not going to cost them any extra money or anything like that. Like, a lot of people don't know the inner workings. So obviously they opted to go a different route and get you guys.
The producers of the game, we had worked with them before on some private stuff. And, they kept us in mind. So I guess it was probably, oh my God, it wasn't even that much before the game was released, which was, I believe, right around the time that the movie was released. We got a call about 3.5 weeks. No, sorry. We got a call about a month before the game was released from the producers. And they're like, look, there's an ancillary character that they're going to finally put on the screen, a carryover from real Ghostbusters. They couldn't tell us who it was, and I had an idea, what it was, because they wanted to have Somebody's Watching Me by Rockwell be the title track for this game. And finally it was leaked that it was going to be Bug-Eye, and he was going to have 2.5 seconds of screen time, but nonetheless he had his screen time. So I'm like, whoa, okay. So what you're saying is like we have an opportunity to make something for Ghostbusters, like something new-ish. And it didn't resonate. Like it was this kind of thing you like can't comprehend for a minute. And then I'm like losing my mind. I mean, I've got pictures of me like in like age 7, like in 2nd grade, standing there with like some makeshift proton pack, wearing a flight suit, being a Ghostbuster. And like suddenly this lands on your lap. It's not like it was the movie, but it doesn't matter because, Ghostbusters is a tight property. It's going to be caretaken, it's curated, it's taken care of. And we're going to have to do something that is like really good because we're not going to blow this opportunity. So, Brian and I got together and, I went over to his studio every day when we only had 3 weeks to make the song. And so, we listened to the original, which we were familiar with because, we were an 80s-ish band in the first place. And, but we're like, you know what we got to do is make it like it would. We hadn't seen any game footage. We hadn't seen anything yet. But in our heads, we're thinking, okay, you're probably it's an AR game. You're going to run around on your phone or your tablet and fight ghosts, catch ghosts. So we made the song to accentuate the action that we sort of envisioned would be occurring in the game, orchestral stuff mixed with some metal, mixed with some alternative, mixed with some of the throwbacks from the original, some vocoder robotic voice and stuff. And it's in a very original composition. It's a play off of the original song, but it's an original composition. Like we highly modified it to work for the way we felt it should be. So that, so that leads into us needing to go through this process where we were second guessing ourselves. Is it going to be good enough? We're giving something to the world that is going to, in its own way, impact a younger generation of Ghostbusters fans. Like it's going to. And so then Brian and I, we were just sweating it for weeks. Like,
yeah, we had no clue. We had no clue what we were doing. We were just like, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to make it complement a fast action game. And the whole time we didn't know if what we were doing was going to be accepted. We didn't have any guidelines to go on. We had nothing. And we were going to redo this song. And so the whole time we're doing it thinking, like, are we wasting our time? What is it? What are we even doing here?
Yeah.
And so we just put our own little spin on it, and we did what we were good at, and they accepted it, and we were sure they would accept it, but when it came time when it came to the moment of truth, we were really unsure. We were like, man, they're not going to accept this. Why would they take this? This is ridiculous. It's this weird creation. It doesn't make any sense. And I
mean, the fans, the audience should understand this. It's not easy getting these things approved. There's a hierarchy, there's a chain, as you definitely would know, Jason. This had to go through Ghost Corps. It had to get the thumbs up from them. It had to get the thumbs up from Sony. It had to get the thumbs up from Jason Reitman. It had to get the thumbs up from Dan Aykroyd. So every single one of these huge, scary entities and people who have major say had to be like, okay, this is cool, because this game was not it's not like some swap meet offshoot. It has original footage of Finn Wolfhard in it. So yeah, it's
definitely an avenue. Like when it comes to the AR experience, when it comes to Ghostbusters, this is an avenue that they've been trying to really crack for some time. Like, I mean, years ago, there was Ghostbusters Paranormal Blast came out. That was like their very first attempt. And a quick weird nugget information. I'm in the commercial for Ghostbusters Paranormal Blast. Somehow snuck my way into that. And then after that, Ghostbusters World came out, which was kind of their attempt at Pokemon Go. And then Ghostbusters Afterlife ScARe. So, I mean, this is something that they've been trying to kind of crack for some time.
They did it. I think the game was done extremely well. Unfortunately, it was swallowed up. I mean, the marketing got swallowed up. Not just because the movie was coming out, but I think it also had to do with the name of the game itself. Because if you were to, at the time, have looked up Ghostbusters Afterlife ScARe, the only thing that was popping up was Ghostbusters Afterlife ScARE's up $43 million. So, it all became box office reviews rather than direct, references to the game. So I think, they shouldn't have named it ScARE. I know why they did it, obviously the AR, but it's suffered a little bit. The people are discovering it every day. It's got the trailer video has like 3 million views or something, and people do enjoy it still, and they just keep on discovering it, and then it's an evergreen thing for us essentially, because when the next movie comes out and there's a new reinvigorated interest and all that, people are going to be looking for more Ghostbusters stuff. And so this is the kind of thing that will keep on sprouting. It was such an amazing experience to go through that process. We recorded this ourselves. We did it. He did it. He did the recording. It's his voice singing it. I did all the robotic voice. We had a friend of ours come in who did the higher voices in it, like the chorus stuff. But we did it all ourselves, man.
We were lucky to be able to take that opportunity. I had my studio ready to go, and I did the drums, I did the bass, I did the guitar, and I did the vocals and the verses. And then, like you said, we brought our buddy in who has the pipes from who knows where those came from, but and we mixed and mastered it. And I'm just really thankful we were ready to take that opportunity that just hit us out of nowhere.
Yeah, they're like, you got to turn in on this date. So we turned in on this date, and we don't hear anything for like a week. So we're like, every day we're like, they don't care about this. They're gonna totally excise it from the thing, and we're just gonna be sitting here crying, going up in flames and everything. Because God, what an amazing opportunity, for us, for guys like us too.
I mean, we did it in 3 weeks. We conceived it and recorded it and mixed, mastered it in 3 weeks, and it was really a crunched time, and I mean, it was good for us. And I wouldn't mind doing it again. It was, it's good when you got that kind of good stress, and you have to really act. You can't wait, and your whole life just becomes that, and
yeah, that's all it was for 3 weeks, was that, dude. What was that? How many hours a day? 17, 18 hours a day we were doing this thing?
Easily, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Went through a million revisions, and at the end of the tunnel, there's always that question: is this going to be okay? Not only is it going to be accepted, but is this going to be good? Like, is this going to fit in? Is this going to feel like it could have been a Ghostbusters thing? And you think about it, it's like, okay, Bobby Brown, like he had his song in Ghostbusters 2, and it's like, there's
which I'm just going to add is like the greatest Ghostbusters song ever made.
It's a great song.
It's so good.
It is.
Yeah.
But and then there's music that ends up in every film that it's like okay, like Power of Love, for instance. Like, Huey didn't know. He was just told, well, we got this movie coming up and we're making it. It's about time travel, and there's this crazy mad scientist guy and this teenager guy. Write a song that's going to fit in that movie. And he's like, what do I have to write the song about ghosts? I mean, no, about traveling through time. They're like, no, just something that this kid might have had on his mixtape. So that's how Power of Love came about. And it's like, so songs that end up in an iconic franchise or property, like, they take on a life of their own, even if they really don't have much to do with the property itself. I mean, this one, it did a little bit because, somebody's watching me, but still, like.
Well, I got to say, too, like, when it comes to the classic Rockwell track, I mean, that has become such an iconic song, especially around, like, the Halloween season. Yeah. And I got to say, your guys' take on it, I mean, it's Halloween. Like, it's got such a creepy vibe and tone going towards it that, right. I mean, honestly, it's a crime that it's not all over Spotify come October.
Thank you. We appreciate that, man. And we hope more people learn about it, from this, from this video that we're doing with you. Because, wow, really appreciate that. When we were making it, part of our thing was, let's make this something that is still fun. It still has a cartoony. Let's make it Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters was comedy horror. And let's try to do that. Let's do that the best we can with this song. Let's make it a little scary. Let's make it kind of ridiculous at the same time, and that's that's how it came out, man. So thank you.
Big downfall is we never promoted it. We never there was never any real promotion or putting it out there or advertising. There was never any of that. It was just went to the game, and then we were hoping they were going to promote the game a lot more than we saw, I think, and and it just kind of is what it is now, a year later.
Yeah, a year later, and now now we're like, okay, let's get this thing out here. So let's get people to know about it because it's a cool song, and the new movie is going to be coming up at some point soon. And let's get some awareness out there. And so we're actually working on the music video for this song.
Yes.
Yeah, really.
We got a video that's going to be coming. I don't know when it's going to get finished. We're really busy right now, so we haven't really been able to like buckle down and really nail it out. But coming here soon, maybe in the next few months or maybe next year. I don't know what it is at this point.
Probably the next couple months. There will be a video for this song, and it's pretty cool. It's going to come out really good.
And I mean, on a personal note, I mean, I love the track. I'm really hoping more people kind of, recognize it and such, especially with all the upcoming Ghostbusters stuff that's like on the way. I mean, we've got a new theatrical film. We actually have a new animated theatrical film, new Netflix series. Of course, they just launched Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed, the brand new video game. Ghostbusters VR coming out next year. I mean, for anybody who may be watching when it comes to all these companies out there that are handling the Ghostbusters property, if they maybe wanted the services of the Flux Capacitors to maybe write a new track, write a new song, would you guys be willing to return to the world of ghostbusting?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a dream. That's a dream come true for us. We will do anything that we have to do to continue to contribute to Ghostbusters and any fandom for that matter. But Ghostbusters, it's stratospheric for us. So yeah, we would do it. Absolutely. Just get in touch with us. Anybody.
So guys, I want to thank you so much for joining me here today on Ghostbusters News. I had an amazing chat, had an amazing time talking to you guys, and I report on Ghostbusters News. I mean, that's what I do. That's what the site's called. But it sounds like to me, you are really living the dream. I mean, you get to kind of show off your fandom, your love for all things 80s, all things retro. What does this mean to you?
It means that you can, if you can go the distance with your fandom if you want to. If you are, if you're into Star Wars, try to do more with it. Try to get noticed. Try to contribute something. Don't give up on your dreams, essentially, because we are proof here that even just a bunch of dudes from Southern California can get together, capture lightning in a bottle, and make something that transcends so many different beloved IPs, properties, fandoms, whatever you want to call them.
We laser focused in on doing what we love, and we spend every day doing it, and it's there's really no substitute for that. So I mean, if you have an idea, if there's if there's something that you're into, you got to pour your time, you got to pour your heart and soul into it, and that's really, I think that's really the only way to go about it.
You got to be tenacious,
but you really got to believe that anything is possible, because every day, who knows what's going to happen. Yeah, I mean that we used to go through that all the time. Every day something would hit us, and you kind of learn that if you really focus in on something, I mean, I hate to say it, sounds kind of cliche, but the universe kind of recognizes that, and it kind of feeds into that, and it gives back, and somehow through all the hard times that we've had, we've always been able to fill the gaps. We've always just when you think you're at your end and there's nowhere to go, and you have nothing else that you can do, but something comes up, and we're always able to bridge the gaps, and we were always able to keep going just when you think everything's going to crash down and you're not going to be able to continue. like something just comes from somewhere and gives you that ability to continue on. And that really has been our experience with this.
We played at on the set of Back to the Future at Universal. We've played there. We've played multiple movie locations. We're involved with different films and different TV shows, and we've had some amazing experiences. But you just keep on doing your thing, and people recognize it, and they send more goodwill your way. So just if you're listening to this and you have crazy ideas that seem to be like unfathomable and impossible, just keep going. I mean, there's no guarantees in life. There's no guarantees with anything, but if you keep on going and you don't give up, and don't listen to the people that are telling you that it's, a waste of time or crazy, like be your creative self. And
yeah, even if you don't have a clear vision, just keep going, follow your path, and you're going to figure it out. You just have to keep going. That's everything. Just keep going, and you'll learn a lot that you didn't know when you began. That's for sure.
Of 10 years of being in this band, that's the wisdom right there. Just keep going, and follow your dreams. Make it happen.